It's official. There is a war going on right now. Have you heard about it? It's called a quiet war, and it's against the American people. In 1954, a declaration of war against the American people was declared by the international elite, aka Bilderberg Group. The Bilderberg Hotel in Holland was the first place this group met in 1954, thus acquiring the name the Bilderberg Group. They are responsible for determining our next rulers and leaders. Just about every president since they have been established has been selected by this group of individuals. They systematically manipulate global finances and ensconce rigid and binding monetary rates around the world. Their ultimate agenda is to enrich their members at the expense of our human rights. They dignify and reprieve environmental degradation worldwide, solely for profit, and they remove any inkling of national sovereignty from every nation to create a one-world government.
The Bilderberg Group controls the International Monetary Fund, IMF, the World Bank, the United Nations, and all of the European central banks. They also are responsible for the participants that founded the Trilateral Commission. The Bilderberg Group is a branch of the Committee of 300. In the Committee of 300, the members' ancestors were a part of the British East Indian Tea Company, which made their fortune in drug trafficking and laundering. The most powerful men and the Queen of England are responsible for the drug trade, where their estimated profits are between 500 and 700 billion US dollars a year. They laundered this money through major stock markets and later pocketed it as justifiable profits.
The Trilateral Commission was founded by David Rockefeller, Henry Kissinger, and Zbigniew Brzezinski, leaders from the CFR and the Bilderberg Group in 1972. This organization is a non-governmental entity that is comprised with 350 elite delegates that are prominent in business, political, and intellectual decision makers from Japan, the European countries, and North America. They developed this private agency to strengthen sanctions politically, socially, culturally, and economically between these three major economic regions. All the secret societies have interlocking membership. However, their tasks are very different, but ultimately they are working towards the same goal, which is a new world order.
The CFR, or the Council of Foreign Affairs, was formulated and agreed on in Paris, France on May 30th, 1919 at the Hotel Majestic. The CFR was founded by Bernard Baruch and Colonel Edward Mandell House and was instituted on July 29, 1921. Both are Ashkenazi Jews. House was President Woodrow Wilson's chief advisor, but he was also in bed with the stockholders of the Federal Reserve. House was a communist or had communist ideologies. He was part of the plan to gain control of both political parties, Democrats and Republicans, in order to usher in a one-world government under a communist or socialist rule. When the CFR first started it had about 1,000 members from the United States, only to grow to having 3,000 members. Those that are members of the CFR were handpicked to make sure they carry on the plot for a one-world government. These people have no allegiance to any nation and are traitors to their own country, the United States. Members of CFR consist of elite politicians, educators, media personalities, financiers, businessmen, heads of industrial empires in the U.S., all international bankers, U.S. based, and heads of their tax-free foundations. About 73% of the members of the CFR are Jewish, Ashkenazi Jew. The CFR uses their influential members to push the New World Order agenda in the lives of Americans. They use their experts to compose scholarly literature used for decision-making. They use academics to push the so-called wisdom or knowledge of a united earth, which is globalism, on our children and adults of all ages as well. They then use the media to distribute these messages to the masses, brainwashing us into a global government.
The plan for the CFR is to manage the worldwide economy, the environment, global poverty, and what is called the New Common. The New Common is considered as oceans and seabeds, space, international violence, and arms, weapons. They want to control the money, land, food, and guns of everyone worldwide. They have gained control of the press. John D. Rockefeller, Illuminati bloodline, is in charge of that. They have gained control of TV, radio, and the movie industry. International bankers, Cohn Loeb, Goldman Sachs, the Wahlbergs, and Lehmans are in charge of that. They also want to eliminate quote-unquote Christianity by infiltrating and co-opting the major Christian denominations in America and worldwide. They have done this with much success, with all these false teachers, false prophets, and politically correct pastors and ministers running around spewing lies, garbage, and destroying the Most High's words. Rick Warren, pastor of Saddleback Church in Southern California, and Richard Land, president of the Southern Baptist Convention, are fairly new members of this treacherous group. What are these so-called men of the Most High doing being part of this elite club? You've guessed it. It is to lead blind Christians down the road to a new world order.
The policy committee of the Bilderberg Group adopted a doctrine known as silent weapons for quiet wars. It's a quiet war because they use subjective biological warfare, basically combating us with silent weapons. The American public cannot fathom nor understand this type of weaponry. Therefore, they will never believe they are truly being attacked. This group of elitists have strived for many, many years to execute this world takeover plan. Every facet of our lives are virtually operated by and through their tactics of mind control and evil manipulation. The international elite look at society with a cold objectivity and have no moral or cultural values. They just want to have social control and destroy mankind through genocide and slavery. This group of elitists run the most detrimental parts of our government. They are the most powerful industrialists, statesmen, financiers, and intellectuals that gather together each year in a private setting to discuss their agenda of a one-world totalitarian socialist government and economic system. Their rule is that there is profit in confusion. The more confusion, the more profit. Therefore, their approach is to create problems and then they will offer the solution.
This statement was from Conspirators Hierarchy, the story of the Committee of 300, written by Dr. John Coleman, where he summarized the intent of this evil occultist group. A one-world government and one unit monetary system under permanent, non-elected, hereditary oligarchies who self-select from among their numbers in the form of a feudal system as it was in the Middle Ages. In this one world entity, population will be limited by restrictions on the number of children per family, diseases, wars, famines, until 1 billion people who are useful to the ruling class in areas which will be strictly and clearly defined remain as the total world population. There will be no middle class, only rulers and servants. All laws will be uniform under a legal system of world courts, practicing the same unified code of laws, backed up by a one world government police force and a one world unified military to enforce laws in all former countries where no national boundaries shall exist. The system will be on the basis of a welfare state. Those who are obedient and subservient to the one world government will be rewarded with the means to live. Those who are rebellious will simply be starved to death or be declared outlaws, thus a target for anyone who wishes to kill them. Privately owned firearms or weapons of any kind will be prohibited.